Good morning, everybody. Welcome. Really appreciate your time here. Uh, it's been an interesting 2 days, the 2.5 days that we've had at NWC. In all our conversations, we're beginning to see this ubiquitous question that comes around, conversation around how AI is no longer just an application layer experience or an experience conversation. It's an infrastructural change. It's the way the foundation of our infrastructure is transforming as we look at the future of technology around us, environments around us, and the customer experiences around us. To have this conversation a little more in detail, we've got Manish Singh, the CTO of the Telecom Systems Business, is with us. He helps telcos realize the benefit of AI and the impact of AI on their networks and their business environments. This conversation, really, Manish, appreciate your time. Eh, We we really would like to hear from you. How are you seeing AI impact or drive value in the telcos that you're talking to today?
Absolutely. First of all, pleasure to be here. Thank you for having us. I think it would only be fair to say that when we think about AI, the way I think about it is it's a foundational technology that's going to get applied on all different aspects of the network and even more broadly. But since we are here at Mobile World Congress, let's talk about the networks and where and how. I'll break this down into three key buckets that AI is going to get applied in the telecom world. Number one, the networks itself. For the telco, the biggest spend is on the network. Network is the product. And how do you derive efficiencies and productivity gains out of that? The industry has talked about autonomous networks for decades, but this is here and now with AI, with generative AI, it's well within the reach. And we're seeing a number of telcos who are really moving towards that. What do I mean by autonomous networks? Think of a network life cycle. Start with planning, site selection, install commissioning, field support, all the way down to network optimization. And you can start to see every aspect of that network life cycle is going to get impacted, is going to improve how we plan networks, how we install commission, how we support the networks, how we optimize and more. That's pillar number one. Pillar number two that we see is customer care. Rather, I would say that's the lowest hanging fruit. Today, if you think about it, it's a lot of call centers, et cetera, where the customers go. Tomorrow, this is going to change. Especially think about AI. What is it good at? Sentiment analysis, churn prediction, and now enabling telcos to think about new products, new offer, new devices, etc., to present to the customers, understand the customer intent, understand the customer need, and more. So customer care is the second pillar. And the third one, while the first two are more AI in the network or AI for the telco, the third one is a growth opportunity. And I think if there's one thing this industry needs a lot more is where's the net new revenue, where's the net new growth going to come from? And if I think about from the third pillar from a growth perspective, we see two key areas. Number one, sovereign AI factories. And why? The reason is data sovereignty, infrastructure sovereignty is the needs for that are growing and there are tailwinds. And telcos in many markets are very well placed to actually deliver sovereign infrastructure. They know how to build, operate, and deliver infrastructure. They also, by the way, know how to secure it. They also know how to deliver trusted services, and they are the trusted entities in many markets. And I'll tell you, we right now are seeing 20 plus telcos across Europe, across a lot of Asian countries who have already started building sovereign AI factories.
Mhm.
So that's one. But the bigger one is edge AI because telcos are the one entity, if you think about it, who has distributed infrastructure operating at citywide scale, nationwide scale, and they know how to operate and manage. And when you think about AI, how do you bring AI closer to where the data is, closer to where the physical world is? That edge becomes the priceless real estate that the telcos have. And how do we enable them to unlock that, whether it's for physical AI, whether it's for contextual AI, and we can talk more about it. But that's the opportunity. So autonomous networks, customer care, monetization, sovereign AI factories, as well as edge.
That's very interesting the way you put it across. There's an operational efficiency portion, the obvious low-hanging fruit. There's the smarter networks portion. There's the efficient networks portion, which is optimizing cost of operation and doing your job better. But the most interesting target that you're really seeing is the revenue stream creation portion. The revenue streams now open up a new market or market groups for telcos, which necessarily didn't exist earlier. How do you see telcos strategically pivoting to enable that for their own environments? What do they need to do? How do they work through this? Because it's not just a network problem any longer. Because when I look at edge AI, I'm also thinking of the silicon problem. It's a silicon to the network operations opportunity of change. Where are you seeing that change?
Yeah. So, I mean, that's where the challenge comes in. This is not the industry that is known for speed and pace of change. And how do we get things accelerated and moving? And that's where we are very focused on. Our focus is, of course, to bring the right infrastructure at scale from edge all the way to hyperscale data centers, but then working with the broader ecosystem of partners to enable that. Where where I see right now, if I consider the state of the mobile union, if I may put it that way, number one, we are seeing in a number of markets, number of telcos who have already taken steps to build their sovereign AI infrastructure. It's not hundreds yet, it's in the 20s, but that's clearly they are the ones who are the leaders and who have started to move forward. For the others who haven't, I think my call to action would be it's time to really think about of all the opportunity waves that came before that the telcos have missed, whether it was the data center, whether it was the cloud transformation, and now AI. The AI wave is here and now, and it's time to really strategize and act upon it. So that's really important. Then the question you also asked is what the challenges. One thing I would say that we see the really fundamental challenge is data. Telcos are sitting on massive amounts of data, but the data is siloed, it's not clean, it's not tagged, it's not pipelined, and there's a whole body of work that needs to be done to get that data layer right. And if we get that right, then it creates the opportunity to unlock the value of that data. And whether it's driving more productivity gains, better efficiencies, or new services and capability that they can offer. But I think the problem that I see fundamentally that starts is sitting right now at the data level.
That's again very interesting. I really appreciate the point of view on where data is going to be a fundamental challenge. It will also add more pressure on the network need bandwidth, the duplex network requirements, especially for AI, lower latency. Can you take a moment to comment on how edge AI is going to drive value streams back into the environment?
So my view is this, and I'll break this into two parts. One is generative AI, large language models in particular, I'm talking about. My view is I do not see that as an edge problem. And the reason is if you look at the generative AI primarily from a latency lens, it's a compute bound problem. Network latency is not really that big a issue. Why? You know what's the time to first token, time to tokens. It's really a compute bound problem today. When I think about edge, I think about data gravity and secondly latency. Data gravity, think about video, heavy data heavy, where we need to bring the AI more closer to where the data is getting generated. The second one is physical AI. Now, the world of physical AI is very interesting. If you look at that space, that is time and space constraint. It's physics, and time and space come into play, which means latency comes into play. So, physical AI, as it starts to take shape, becomes absolutely a critical opportunity for the telcos to think about. And last but not the least is What we are also seeing is the next class of devices that are coming into shape, which is AR glasses. And if you think from an AR glass perspective, two things come up. One is the form factor is constrained in terms of power. That means it's constrained in terms of amount of compute I can put and amount of heat and cooling I can have, which means for these glasses to generate newer experiences, newer capabilities for the consumer, it needs assist. And that's where edge starts to come into shape again, where contextual assist can be provided by that edge. So again, I'll break it. LLMs, not necessarily in the current shape and form. That's not the go-to problem. Video, definitely. And the two emerging ones, physical AI as well as AR kind of glasses, and those are one factors.
Thank you. That's again very interesting. Possibly, I could add one more concept to that is the domain-specific small language models that will play a large edge activity that we'd have to work with, and that would drive a lot more change in the silicon business too to bring that connect back to relevance in the market. As telcos transform, and telcos do take time for nature of the business that they are, how do they leverage who they have around them to accelerate this entire go to market?
The way we talk about it is the two parts to when you start to think about how do you adopt AI, the what and the how. The what part is what do you want to do? Where are you going to apply it? Whether it's in autonomous networks, customer care, services that you want to offer, etc. And then the critical part comes in is how. And the how to comes in is how, where is the data? How good the data is? What do you want to build? What do you want to buy? And what do you want to partner on? And no one entity in the entire ecosystem can do it all. So there is role for infrastructure providers, there's role for model providers, there's role for application providers, and there's a critical role for SIs to play in to bring all of this starting from the data layer all the way up to stitch the whole solutions. And so this whole ecosystem approach is really, really important. And Dell has a very clear view. If I could just take a minute on the Dell AI factory construct. If you look at the Dell AI factory, what is it? If you think about a physical factory, it's raw materials and finished goods out. In an AI factory, the raw material in is data, and the finished goods out are use cases and business outcomes. And what sits inside the factory floor is infrastructure, for us, very critically, an open ecosystem and a set of services that need to be offered. Because when you bring all these three pieces together, then you accelerate realizing the use cases and the business outcomes, which is what the operators need. So I think bringing that ecosystem is one of the big thrusts for us, and really partnering broadly, whether it's open model providers, closed model providers, application providers, data layer providers, and more. And same goes for SIs.
Thank you. Thank you for stitching that story together. So essentially, what you're saying is AI as a foundation infrastructural change will drive the obvious efficiencies in the environment, will create new market revenue streams for us in the telco business, will also be only achievable if the entire ecosystem starts orchestrating together more efficiently to help accelerate the realization of this revenue streams.
Yeah, without a doubt. Without a doubt. As I said, it's transformational technology. It's a fundamental technology. Even think about it. AI is going to be everywhere. It's going to be on your device. It's going to be on your laptops. It's going to be on the edge. It's going to be in the core. It's going to be in the cloud. It's going to be everywhere. And there are use cases that will land at the right place depending on where the data is, what the latency or other service requirements are, et cetera, et cetera. Not to forget TCO and other aspects to it. All of that comes into the mix. So we are going to see AI proliferate everywhere, and it's going to be a clearly in my mind a big opportunity and a big need for a ecosystem play to come together to make this happen.
Manish, thank you for really summarizing all that together. It is a very insightful conversation. Shall I open up to the audience for some questions? Any questions here, guys?
You talk about data that the mobile network operators own, and that's what they need to monetize. Can you be more specific? And related to that, I can see what kind of data it could be, but there's also the data protection. Who owns that data? The data is there, but who owns it? I mean, there's a lot, especially in Europe, but I guess in all countries, GDPR and a lot of data protection. So you still need to get authorization to access that data, and that is key. And there's a big legislation framework behind. So how do you see those? So what data, and how do you see how to get access to that data and own it to monetize it?
Yeah, great question, and a very complex question. Uh, so, number one, it's not just monetization, just to start with. Even if I want to apply AI for making my network operations efficient through the network lifecycle, I need to make sure I have the right data and the data is clean, stacked, it's pipeline, only then I can. And today, if you look in the world of telco, there's a lot of that data that's available, but it's sitting in silos. Even within the network, the data in the RAN is sitting with the RAN ops team, and the data in the core is sitting with the core ops team. And oh, by the way, there's tremendous amount of data that is sitting in their BSS OSS systems, and it's all siloed. So when I say that we need to really break the silos and bring all this data out to really unlock the value, that's what I'm talking about. And here's the guiding principle for me: good data in presence of other good data becomes great data. So this is really important that we start to think about breaking these data up. Then the second question that you touched on is privacy concerns around it, and especially when you're talking about consumer data. And without a doubt, there's going to be PII information, there is location information, and other, which has to be dealt with adequately within the regulatory frameworks, and for that matter, within whatever the PII policies the operators have. Because one of the other things is, as I said in the beginning, telcos are trusted entities in many of the markets. I mean, the consumers trust it as they're using the network. And so I do not see that that's going to change. They will continue to meet the regulatory requirements as well as the policy frameworks. Within that, there's opportunity to unlock new value. Even if you think, I mean, if you're looking at what's happening with open APIs, open gateway, Kamara APIs, and more, uh, there's a whole set of APIs that are getting exposed, whether it is around uh, fraud detection and fraud prevention, whether it is know your customers, whether it is location-based applications getting enabled, and in there you will also see things like opt-in, right, where the end user is informed and the end user is given an option. If you want to opt in and you see a value, you can go for it. So those frameworks are all going to come into play, and that's why I said it's a complex question, not a simple answer, but that's the work that needs to be done.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Any other questions, guys?
I mean, just your perspective, yeah. You're dealing with the customers, especially on the edge side of the things, yeah. For the use case purely on the operation side, which where it is a bit more, you get the telemetry in a much more structured way and all. Do you really need a fairly complex GPU on the edge side, or do you think a fairly standard hardware where the CPU and all would be suffice with your experience, yeah?
Yeah, I think that's again a question that needs a more nuanced answer. You do not need GPUs for all AI. There's a lot of AI that can be done on the CPUs, and actually we see a lot of that work getting done on CPUs. Then there are obviously use cases as your models become more complex, more larger. You need so it depends on what's the use case, what's the model, what's the size of the model and capability that we are talking about, what's the data that needs to be pipelined in, and that actually governs what the right underlying infrastructure would be. Yeah.
Appreciate it, Manish. So essentially, what we're hearing across the board is very contextual. We're still an evolving platform. We're still in evolving in infrastructure layer, and that context, both from a data context or from the compute need, or for that matter, the network bandwidth or the storage needs, will be something that we will evolve as we start addressing opportunities downstream.
Downstream, but I think it's time to move. I do not want to mix the message. I want to just be very clear about it. The opportunity is here and now, and there is no time for anybody to be sitting on the sidelines. It's time to move and move fast. The models will evolve, the data will evolve, the use cases will evolve. And yes, that will always be the case, but AI is here and now. and the industry needs to move forward.
I appreciate the emphasis on the goal and the opportunity at hand. Thank you very much,
Thank
folks. Really, thank you, Manish. Thank you for your time. It was a really good conversation. Appreciate having you here at Wipro.
Thank you very much.